The Borough of Yeadon, Delaware County, Pennsylvania Borough Council Special Meeting for January 9th, 2023 is called to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Present.
Present.
Vice President Lynn Johnson.
Present.
Councilor Talia John.
Present.
Councilor Paulette Rose.
Present.
Councilor Colby.
Present.
Councilor Tony Mandola. Councilor, you have roll call.
Here.
Representative Mr. Mark Munch. Present. Thank you. Our Finance Director, Mr. Nafis Nichols. Our Task Collector, Mr. London Hughes. And our Engineer, Mr. Joseph Dusso. All councils except for Mr. President of the Council. That completes the roll call, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Citizens Forum, agenda items only. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. First on the list is Mr. Michael Trent.
Good evening, everybody. Since the main thing on the agenda tonight is the selection of a candidate for the chief of police, it just seems that from what it was mentioned earlier last year, as far as the process, it seems like the process was flawed. We understand there were 7 citizens that were involved in the process, but, we don't know who they are, how they were selected. Obviously weren't people that usually come up and speak about these things. Could be they're just, friends or family of some of the counselors. You paying attention, Sharon? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It just seems like, the whole process was kind of flawed. The real citizens weren't involved. Not much was said during the process. And it just seems like, as far as the money spent for the Valori Group, which was like, 37,500, that to me was a waste because, I don't think anybody's seen the full report that he supposedly has done. I know somebody said he's read 1 chapter, but, as far as the process, I'm not even sure why Chief Paparo wasn't even considered, since he was really the best candidate for the position. Don't know who the 3 candidates really are because they've never been mentioned or introduced to anybody. So I'm not sure if you're actually going to make a decision tonight on selecting somebody. And if so, it's like, why couldn't we have heard or found out, except through the grapevine, who they were? Or is that just something that you guys like to keep as a secret from everybody? I know, y'all don't answer questions at workshops, you don't answer them over here at legislative special meetings or whatever.
Mr. Trent, I don't know. I'm just as lost and confused as you are. So that is my answer. I was not part of the process. I received 15 minutes to review a resume, 3 resumes, and to ask questions of 3 candidates. That's the only participation I was afforded throughout this entire process. And it was absolutely flawed.
Thank you. I mean, right now, public safety, I think, is one of our primary and key issues in the borough. As was stated, I think this month or by the end of the month, we're going to be down to about 9, possibly 10 active full-time police officers. It seemed like at the workshop, it seemed like it was a joke to mention that we need a civil service commission. But I don't know if that's going to be a priority at some point so we can have more full-time police officers. And I don't even think there's been an ad as far as the so-called 7 part-timers, Sharon, that you had mentioned at your town hall meeting that you wanted to bring into the borough. So, I mean, where do we stand at with our public safety? I know. Time to go.
Thank you, Mr. Tran.
Currently, we are in violation of not appointing people to the Civil Service Commission. We are actually violating a law by not appointing.
Will you out of order? Angela Lee?
Good evening. As always, I'm asking
You
for,
have about your minutes. Residents access can't find the minutes.
That was-
You can only speak on the agenda item here tonight,
Please start our time over if you're going
which
to
is
talk.
which is the authorization for the new candidate for new police chief. That's the only thing you can ask about.
okay. I would like to know, since there were no names of the candidates on the agenda, do we have to fill out a right to know request to find out who those candidates are? How were the residents selected to be on the search committee? There has not been any full disclosure of much of anything regarding this process. 4 members have engaged in active concealment by preventing the residents from having knowledge of this process. It seems like 4 council members are acting with an intent to deceive. They are all accomplices by giving assistance to one person, which makes them guilty by association. The keeping of secrets from the taxpayers whose tax dollars fill the borough coffers need to stop. Things should be known by the residents and the 3 councilors who are being left out of the loop. This is intentional and undermines the faith of the public and government. Excuse me. That's it. I think that the agenda, when we have these discussions about the police department and the police selection, it should be put on there. You're not listening. So we don't have to guess or hear gossip about what's going on with our police department. Thank you.
Anna?
Good evening, everyone. One of the biggest, can everybody hear me? One of the highest areas of concern for our borough is public safety. We've been saying this for over a year now. Because it is such a big area of concern, can everybody please listen to me?
I'm sorry.
Because it is such a high area of concern, I think that there would have been a lot of transparency with regards to the overall selection process for the new chief of police. When this whole search was going to happen, one of the things that we were told was that there would be at least 3 search firms considered, and that then they would select one. My understanding is that we never even had 3 that were considered. We just went with 1. That's a problem. We were also told that the residents, because this is such a high area of concern, we were told that the residents were going to be involved. Supposedly, there were 7 residents. We're asking which residents were involved. No one is giving us that information. That's a problem. There were other residents that said that they were interested in being involved in the search with regards to a police chief. This affects every single person in this community. It is critical. And another thing that is very concerning is that we want someone that has the community type of presence that our former police chief had. There's different problems in this area than places like Philadelphia. It takes a different type of police chief with regards to that. With regards to the actual selection of the candidates, my understanding is that not all of the counselors were involved. And I would like to understand, why is that? Every single one of you is an elected official. You're all sitting on council. You should all be involved in the decision. If that's not the case, need to understand why. If they had the interest with regards to being involved and they were available, then they should have been involved with regards to the selection. Right to know requests have been put through with regards to the Valori Group report that has still not been received. What's the issue with regards to that? We're asking for transparency. Right to know requests will be put through with regards to trying to find out the names of these candidates that were considered with regards to the police of chief selection. If we are selecting a police chief officer, we want it to be the most qualified candidate. And my understanding is that there were some very qualified candidates that were not considered. With regards to the former police chief that you fired, he had saved us much more with regards to things that he had done for the community in terms of grants and different things that he was doing for this particular community. He had also taken a look with regards to the FOP contract and with regards to the contract that you just ratified before the end of the year. Because you did not read it, you cost this borough money. Nobody took the effort to actually see what was going on in that. Well, a few counselors did. I know that one actually pulled out a question with regards to a particular officer getting additional raises. So this is all concerning. We actually need you to start taking a look and doing what is right for this borough. Thank you.
Liz? Economic?
This agenda is insufficiently specific to meet the guidelines of the Sunshine Act. You are denying the residents the right to make an informed public comment by hiding necessary information. You cannot have a motion to select a candidate for the position of police chief without a name. The names had to be on a publicly available agenda 24 hours in advance of this meeting. We learned at the last special meeting that a panel of 7 residents was appointed to the police search committee in secrecy, without the knowledge of the full council, without a vote of council. This was illegal. The committee was headed by someone who has a welfare fraud conviction and recently sought to have a parking ticket fixed. Someone whose husband had to resign as state representative for accepting bribes. People with criminal convictions and proclivities, such as Talia Jones-Waters, should have no role in selecting a police chief for our community. Who are the 7 residents who were involved in narrowing down the candidates and interviewing them? What are their qualifications? Are they really residents? How were they selected? Do any of them also have criminal records? Why the secrecy? Do the candidates realize that the police chief's search and application process was not conducted in an ethical manner with transparency? Do they know that their appointment could be contested in court due to the rampant Sunshine Act violations of this council? Do the candidates know that council continues to refuse to appoint anyone to the vacancy on the Civil Service Commission so that new full-time officers can be hired? Do the candidates know that even after President Council Sharon Council Harris finally promised to hire 7 part-time officers on December 6th, that she still has not placed an advertisement for those positions? Do the candidates understand that we've lost half of our police officers in the past year under Sharon Council Harris's leadership? What is a new police chief going to do without officers? How can a new police chief trust council will provide the officers he needs when they haven't done that for our acting police chief, Lieutenant Burns, who you appointed after firing Chief Paparo? If the gossip is correct as to who the final 3 candidates are, we have 2 lieutenants who are less qualified than our Lieutenant Burns, and a captain who is less qualified than our Chief Chachi, Anthony Paparo. None of these candidates have the level of community policing experience that we residents expect. 2 of these candidates have enough years at their current positions to retire with pensions. The Yeadon Police Department is not a retirement home for Philadelphia cops looking to feather their nests. Carlette, you were not on council when the last police chief was hired. This is a copy of his resume, so you can make an informed choice for yourself so you know what we're missing.
Clara Johnson?
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Have all counselors received and reviewed the findings from the Valerio study? That is a question, although I know I'm not going to get an answer.
I did not.
We know from the last council meeting, Councilor Monroe stated she had not received any documents. She also asked if any of the other counselors received same. Councilor Brooks, Beatty, and Councilor Roadcow had not. I often wondered why Councilor Brooks voted for something she said she had not seen. Councilor Johnson stated to me on a phone conversation that there were too many pages to read. So again, it's Jones Waters and Sharon Council heading the pack. Why was it necessary
Ms.
to?
Johnson, you need to restrict your comments to the agenda items only. That's the selection of a candidate for Yaden Borough.
That's all right, she'll start over because I'm patient and I won't be rude when I start over like you were being
you
rude to
need
me.
to stick to the
Everything that I
agenda.
have said is on that agenda.
It's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
It's
Tell
not.
me what's not on the agenda.
The agenda item, Mr. Boggs, would you explain to her what's on the agenda item, please?
Don't you know?
Why don't you know?
It's the chief of police, that's it. That's it. If you see the agenda, that's it.
That's what I'm speaking
You're not speaking on the
about.
agenda, you're speaking on the efficiency study. And that is not on the agenda, ma'am.
That informed your police chief information.
Is that not a part? Mr. Boggs, is that not a part?
I just would love everybody to stay on the seat.
I would too.
You need to restart.
I would too. And I asked you at the last meeting to please do your
Ms.
job.
Johnson, I stopped your time.
That's all I needed you to tell her. Yeah, that's it.
No, it's not. I'm
It's
not
not about,
finished.
it's not about the
I'm not
efficiency study.
finished.
Keep talking, Clara.
Why was it necessary to spend tax dollars for this special meeting? Why the rush? Couldn't this have been placed on the legislative meeting, which is free? Stop spending tax dollars like it's your chump change. This was not discussed at the workshop, so who's making the decisions? All counselors have not had input, that's clear. This is a personnel meeting. Why is Mr. Maxey's name not on the agenda? Why is the civil service not on the agenda? I'm finished.
I want to announce that the two requests, Ashley Dollamore and Colleen Kennedy, will not be allowed to speak tonight because you're not residents of the borough of Yaden. So you will not be allowed to speak tonight.
Usually do, but thank you.
Well,
for letting
yes,
us know.
but, yeah. Thank you. Okay, citizens forum has been completed. The selection, I'd like to entertain a motion for the selection of a candidate for the Yaden Borough Chief of Police.
Second.
It's been moved and proper second. Can you indicate the selection? You want to provide her? This is so stupid. You have to provide.
Couldn't you provide the residents the name?
We don't even know the name. We don't know the name.
Never find out.
So the motion should just include this.
Nobody knows the name.
Henry.
What's his last
name? To be chief of police.
What was that?
So put it in your motion.
Did you just say somebody's name?
No, she-
Speak clearly for the record, please.
Is it Jemima?
Yeah, Mark.
Gia what?
They can. Yes, they can. And it is not private information. They're considering.
I don't want to hammer his last name.
Yes.
Because they cannot
Recess
pronounce the
for 10
man's
minutes.
name, because they can't pronounce the man's name, or they don't know the man's name. And this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, it's embarrassment, this is just pure incompetence.
Obviously, it's only
Meeting and you don't even know who you're hiring. How can you be selected in police chief and you don't even know?
Cannot take this nonsense up here. Can't do it.
This is embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
very embarrassing.
Like, you wouldn't have this stuff already
taken care of. This is nonsense, just nonsense.
This is what happens when two people this is litigation instead of speaking and community. I've never okay, what's going on. But that's the only reason they need this.
And don't even know, not even including everybody's availability. Let's start there.
Because I wasn't even supposed to be here, but that's neither here nor there. Never hear about prayer meetings, the last meeting.
Like my patience is just, it's going.
Some of the buildings. So they were great to talk about that. Oh, yeah.
And I want to get people, but it's like, well, you know.
Oh, they just do that 2 years. It's just the beginning. The beginning. Insurance company. Exactly. Insurance company. And then deny it, and then you have to come back out. Yeah. But the entire process.
All of a sudden, she might non-resident speak, English speak. Today,
And I'm afraid that would argue where there was like a mild law, very good choices. Like the this is like what's been for. Purpose of every meeting, systemic. Yeah. She had arguments that you pay for. This isn't some people in my motions. See this over. Like that's not what's happening. That's not what it is. Because he's to win.
They are true words self-addressed.
The other one. What's the other one? Sure.
But this is how it's seen.
Sorry. Oh, geez. Time for hammer time. But she starts gabbling. I'm ready.
The shoe fits where?
And the name of the song, when they go, hammer time. You can't touch this.
Oh, God, that's great. I like that. I love that.
we have no idea. Hold on, no.
That's a bit, it is. So much happening.
Oh, you're so funny. Oh, my God.
You know, I mean,
Well, we did that.
Not a contract bid where it's secret until the last second.
And I'm bidding on this job. They're applying.
Okay, so Lynn, your motion needs to be reframed.
it was like really Wisconsin.
She said.
So she said,
I made the motion.
You were putting a motion on
All right. The motion that I'm putting on the floor
You can.
Is the selection of candidate for Yedinburgh Chief of Police. The motion is for Henry Joseph Gianmarco Jr. For Chief of Police for Yedinburgh.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions?
I have questions.
Yes.
Is Mr. Gianmarco able to start if he was to be hired right now? Do he have full credentials to be able to act as chief of police?
No.
Yes, he still can start. He was, he's
Yes.
hired, yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Does he have 120 certification?
The question is simple. Do Mr. Gianmarco have full credentials to be able to start as chief of police right now?
No. He still can be hired. It's the same certification you need as a police officer. He's been a police officer before. He needs to redo his test, which I believe is happening either this week or next week.
So I would say, I cannot understand for the life of me how we can have a person nominated as chief of police and he's not even credentialed to start the job immediately.
Well, we're not asking him to start the job immediately.
Again,
He has to give.
he should have
he
his
has to
proper
give notice to
credentials.
his
He should have his proper credentials.
And you were.
Excuse me, no talking from the audience, please.
And what happens if he does not pass the test? What happens? Then again, you look ridiculous.
Madam President.
Again.
Are we able to do this pending the
Yes.
completion?
Yes.
Thank you.
The legal ramifications have been.
And if he does not pass the test, we'll be back here again. That makes sense, right?
We didn't do
All
that
right,
for court time.
any other questions? Are there any other? Yes.
Yeah, what community policing experience does this man have?
I need to
Okay.
table the motion.
So we're going to,
There's a motion on the floor to
there any
select
other
candidate for
questions?
Yadenboro Chief of Police.
no, there's not any other.
I do have a question.
No, the motion is on the floor.
I have a
I'm
question.
asking questions, and the Councilor Beatty has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President.
So, why wouldn't we wait until after this gentleman takes this exam to make this vote? Like, why couldn't this wait until our legislative meeting to do this?
Yeah.
Which would make more sense.
What's the rush?
The question is, why should we wait? What's the answer? The answer to the question is that there are three candidates that want to know the disposition of this council. They have waited 2 weeks since we had the interviews, and the recommendation from Dr. Valori, recommendation is that you make the selection and inform all of the candidates of that decision, so that you don't lose the candidates that have been over the past 6, 8 weeks waiting for this process to be completed. That is the answer.
How much of that is?
Sometimes it takes a month or so.
That
to
is the
start
answer.
In the corporate world, you never find out.
Yeah.
Okay. so-
I make a motion to table the selection of a candidate for Yaden Borough Chief of Police based upon the fact that the person you would like to place in this position does not have all of his credentials that would enable him to properly serve in that capacity.
Second.
It's been moved and second to table. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I call for the vote to table. Those in favor which indicate by raising your hand.
In favor to table, Nicole.
In favor to table by raising your
In
hand.
favor to table, Road Cloud.
Those opposing the table which indicate by raising your hand. The motion fails to table. The motion to table has failed. So the motion to approve, which indicated by roll call, Mr. Dodson. Roll call vote to approve the hiring of, yes, Mr. Gianmarco.
Okay. President Council Harris,
Yes.
Councilor Johnson, please.
Vice President Johnson, yes.
Vice President Johnson, excuse me. Councilperson Talia Jones Waters.
Yes.
Councilperson Lana Rollcloud, please.
I abstain due to the incompetence.
Okay. Councilor Brooks.
Yes.
Councilor Beatty.
Abstaining my vote.
Thank you. The motion passed.
The motion carries.
Another action item.
The motion 4A, Authorization to complete psychological exam, background check, and employment agreement to finalize hiring of the selected candidate.
So
What is your
moved.
pleasure?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded that you speak. It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions, Mayor?
It had passed me, but did we make that approval contingent upon the candidate passing the Act 120? We did that? Okay. All right, I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions? Hearing none, the authorization to complete the psychological exam, background check, and employment agreement to finalize hiring of the selected candidate. Roll call vote, Mr. Dodson.
President Council Harris,
Yes.
Vice President Maureen Johnson,
Yes.
Councilperson Talia Jones Waters,
Yes.
Councilor Deanna Roll Cloud,
I abstain.
thank you. Councilor Carlette Brooks,
Yes.
Councilor Nicole Beaver.
Abstain. The motion carries. Are there any new business from councilors, old business?
I have
New
old
business, I would like to, I feel that we're having too many special meetings. I would like for Madam President to please consider not having so many special meetings this year. They're costly with our solicitor, with our recordings, and it's an inconvenience to residents. I think we really need to limit, and it puts a toll on the council members.
Yes,
So I'm hoping that we can all come to an agreement where we limit our special meetings and cut costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion? No, it's not a motion.
It's just a suggestion.
No,
A suggestion.
just a suggestion.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to also make a suggestion at our regular monthly meetings. For this coming up, Thursday meeting, we will provide to each counselor a copy of the Code of Conduct for counselors. In this, yes, there's a resolution. And we're going to ask for your signature, so if you want to consider that and think about that, we're going to ask for you to sign off on a Code of Conduct for counselors. That will be presented on, and also for Black History Month and the Martin Luther King celebration, we will be interviewing residents who have made great contribution to our community. We'll be highlighting those things in the month of January and February.
You shouldn't be hosting it because you're a disgrace as an African-American woman.
Oh, we also will have sanctions on counselors who curse out employees, who curse out counselors. We will be having sanctions on those counselors who conduct themselves in a disrespectful way. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.